let's talk inequalities. Now, for this whole time, up to now, we've been talking about math sentences where something is equal to something else, right? So 1 plus 1 equals 2, right? This is a true math sentence. And I'm going to introduce, maybe this is like punctuation, you could think about it. I'm going to introduce a different type of way to talk about math today, and that way is inequalities, things that are not equal to each other. And we can describe things that are not equal to each other in a few different ways. We can just say they're not equal, right? That's this right here. This means A does not equal B. So you might write something like 1 is not equal to 2. Right? Or I don't know. I have 2 colors, so 1 does not equal 2, like that. So that's one way of talking about inequalities, things that are not equal. And that's a true statement, right? 1 isn't 2. Okay, there's another way of talking about that, or inequalities, when a number is less than another number. So this right here is A is less than B. A is less than B. So, for example, using our previous example, we could say 1 is less than 2. 1 is less than 2. That is true. Okay. We also have A is, so we've talked about 2 ways. Not equaling each other, being less than, or being greater than. So, for example, A is greater than B. A is greater than B. Well, here we would say 2 is greater than 1. And I don't know, it's funny that the things you remember, right? I remember being in 4th grade and learning for the first time about these. And my teacher said, the alligator always eats the bigger number, right? So it's almost, this almost looks like it could be like, I don't know, you put some teeth in there and it's, I don't know, like an alligator, right? So it's not a great looking alligator, but maybe we'll just leave the I, right? The alligator eats the larger number. And so the way to think about that is you could think about it as the open end of our inequality sign always is open towards the greater number, or that the arrow, if you were to call this like it kind of looks like an arrow, right? So there's our alligator, or here's our arrow, if you were to draw it like an arrow. The arrow is always pointing towards the smaller number. So, not equal to, less than, or greater than. Now, when we use variables in inequalities, we might have something that is less than or equal to. So this would read A is less than or equal to B. So if I were to say, I don't know, X is less than or equal to 10, well, then that would be any number less than or equal to 10. So it could be 10 or 9 or 8 or 7 or anything, right? Versus up here, if I were to say X is less than 10, well, it couldn't be 10 itself. It would just start at 9 or 8 or 7, right? So that includes the number. In the same way for greater than, A is greater than or equal to B, right? Larger than or included. Let's look at a few examples of types of questions you might see. Yeah. Okay, so I have 3 things here. We have the expression in words. We'll write what it looks like as an algebra sentence, so like an English sentence, an algebra sentence, and then what that would look like as a graph. So x is all real numbers less than 2. And all the real numbers, that's just every number. So if it helps you to read it, it's all numbers less than 2. But all real numbers includes the decimals, right? Any decimal includes pi. That's real numbers. So we would write that as x is less than 2. Remember, the less than symbol, the arrow is pointing towards the smaller, right? So that's x. Or it's opening up towards the greater, which is 2. Okay, now that doesn't include 2. So if I'm going to graph it, this is just a line graph. I'm going to put a circle. I always put an open circle here because 2 is not part of it. Right? And that's what that open circle at 2 means, is that 2 is not included in my answer. And then, since it's all numbers less than 2, it could be, well, let's think of some numbers it could be. It could be 1, might be -2, might be, I don't know, -5, right? Any of these are all less than 2. So, I cheat a little bit by using my line tool, but so we start here and we go this direction. And that's how you, I guess, show that it's all the numbers less than 2. Open circle at 2 and an arrow covering, a line covering all those numbers. Because then any point on that line would be less than 2. Okay, x is all real numbers greater than -3. So again, x, we'll change colors here. X, oops. Let me change a few things there. X is greater than -3. Okay, so we start at -3 and -3. And again, it doesn't include -3. It's everything that's larger than -3. So we draw an open circle at -3. Then a line that covers all of the numbers greater than -3. So, you know, that for you might be, you might think, oh, I know 1 is greater than. I know that 1 is greater than -3. I know that -1 is greater than -3. So that's all the numbers on this side, all the numbers going this way. And that's how you would draw that or graph that. Open symbol because it's greater than, not, well, so that doesn't include 3. And then all the numbers to the right. Something that, well, yeah, okay. So that's that. We've got 2 more examples. What if x is all real numbers less than or equal to 0? Less than or equal to 0. Well, x is less than or equal to, and I kind of like to think of this, you know, an equal sign is here. So less than or equal to, you draw, right? It's kind of like that. Or equal sign here, greater than might look like that, right? Where you still have that bottom line of the equal sign there. So equal to 0. Okay, so we know that it could be 0. It's less than or equal to 0. So instead of an open circle at 0, I put a closed circle. So if you ever see a line under it like this, then you know it's less than or equal to, so I need to close that circle. And then less than, well, it's all the numbers less than 0, so that's -1 or -4, maybe -3, right? Maybe -2.5. All of those numbers less than 0. So our arrow points to the left, like that. And last but not least, x is all real numbers greater than or equal to 1. So x is greater than or equal to 1. Start at 1. Move us up 1 there. Start at 1, and then remember, it's all the numbers that are greater than or equal to 1. So we have to fill in the 1 here. Let me make sure that that's really apparent that that's filled in. And then, well, 4 is greater than 1. 5 is greater than 1. 2 is greater than 1. Pi, which is somewhere around here, is greater than 1. So, we'll increase that size. All of the numbers greater than 1. So hopefully this helps you write and graph inequalities.